when I went to school for the first time. Mrs. Fell got everybody out, and she gave everybody some pencils, you know, and all the kids were working and working and working, and then she started to look at what they were doing, and I ended up making a hurricane. Just from the bottom to the top, like this. Ooh, 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 ooh,
yeah, like a tornado.
Like a tornado.
Yeah.
It was going like this. And no other child in the whole
could even draw a circle.
Couldn't even do a circle. So that was the starting of my art career, basically.
Did you always think of yourself as an artist? Did you ever consider another way of being? Was that just, it was just always that?
Yeah, because, you know, after Mrs. Fell, you know, then... you know,
your career was made.
Well, it was, because I was always the class artist the whole time, you know, and all the way until now, I guess.
And that one drawing. And then, of course, I mean, it's quite a well-told tale, but I think it's important to tell it.
Yes.
Where you fell into a lake.
Yes.
And I guess to all intents and purposes, you were drowning, or you were on the verge of.
Well, I went right to the bottom.
And what did you see there?
I saw probably the most beautiful world I'd ever seen. Blue and green. It was just so incredible, and I had no fear. I just went right to the bottom, bloop, I landed. The water was probably about maybe this deep or something like that, I don't know. And then, you know, I just stood there and I looked, and I just saw the most beautiful vision of light and color and everything. It was just so beautiful. And then my uncle saw the bubbles at the bottom. And he looked around, he realized, wow, where's Billy, you know? And then, finally, you know, he went and grabbed it, and then when my uncle was helping me, you know, I was pushing him away. Because I just had seen
you wanted to be in that place.
This incredible place.
And you're saying this as Tristan is ascending behind you in all of this water.
Well, there it is, yeah,
and water has become such an important part of your work. It's as a metaphor, as a vehicle, as something that it has a reflective quality, and it's a really important element within this exhibition as well. We were speaking earlier about your drawing and your notebooks, and this place that you have in Long Beach, which is an office, it's a room, but it's a lot more than that. It's a library and...
Yeah, it's really the ground zero of where I kind of think of ideas and you know, I will read books and stuff and all that stuff, you know, but just to have that world and also for it to be absolutely quiet and still, you know, just to be there, to just feel it, you know. And then in that way, you can begin to move it around. You know, if you're lucky, you know, you can get some really interesting ideas just sometimes for just sitting around.
The thing that has always been extremely clear to me from the very first time I saw your work was this distillation of so much that is unspeakable. I mean, I don't have words for it. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about that process of that, your thought and your note-taking and your distillation of ideas, and then what happens to how they become the works that they become.
Well, they become that for this incredible person here. I mean, she is just an extraordinary woman. And I could never do what I do without her.
You've known each other since 1979?
77,
77.
actually.
Yeah, 77.
Oh, when the Sculpture Park started.
Oh, really?
Oh, was that really when the Sculpture Park started?
Same thing. That's very good.
And I said earlier that when we were talking that you were both seekers. It seems to me that you were both, at that time, you'd already travelled independently, you'd already been seeking something which was outside of a material world.
Well, I think that, we both had travelled quite a bit in our separate ways before that.
That's very true.
Bill had lived in Europe, he was in Italy, and I had lived in Europe. I was in England, and then I lived in Bulgaria as well. Yeah, lots of adventures. I'm a very adventurous person, so I did a lot of things on my own. But then I was working at La Trobe University, and I was very much involved with the new music department as well. I wasn't working, I was working to establish a cultural program on campus, for students and for the faculty. And so I did exhibitions and concerts and things like that with the help of other people. And then we decided to do a video show in 1977. And so Warren Burt, this person who worked in the music department, he said, "Oh, I know this guy in New York. He's pretty good. Should we invite him?" And his father also works for Pan American Airlines, so he could get free airline tickets. So I said, "Yeah, well, bring him over. We'll see what happens." That's how we met, basically.
Yeah.
Many of the works that are in this exhibition are made in really big spaces in Los Angeles or around and about near to where you live and work. And they're really big productions.
Yeah.
Some of them are really big productions, and some of them are very small. Like, for example, The Veiling, which is actually quite, it seems like a very complex piece. Actually, it's complex because of the veils, really.
Right.
I think there's an integrity runs right through your work.
Thank you.
That's who you are as people.
Yeah.
But also in the making of the work, there are no tricks. There are, you're using certain effects and you're manipulating the camera in some ways, but the trickery isn't there. So that when water is water, and when someone is deluged in water or a liquid, they are deluged in it. There's no trickery there. Or even if there's fire, as there is with Firewoman, there's that woman is standing in front of a bank of fire that is almost, she had to be covered in heat-resistant gel.
Exactly.
So there's a reality that runs through at every stage in the work.
We've always done that. All these little things that we've been doing, we're trying to get as authentic as possible.
Yeah. And one of the things I love about this show, and it's something that I learned when we worked with Yinka Shonibari, is how you have this chapel, which is a special space in its own right, and then you make something really remarkable in it.
Yep.
And that becomes either the beginning or the end of your journey, depending on how you want to orientate the exhibition.
Yes.
But that journeying between places, over landscape.
Right. Sometimes I think of it as a kind of a river. It's just a river of life, and it's being moved along, carried along by these waves, and and then all of a sudden you stop to look at something, and then all of a sudden an idea pops into your head, and then you go this way.
And one of the things I find really moving about your work is that you're dealing with these kind of crucial points in time, like birth and death and ecstasies, and so those very where everything comes to a pinpoint.
Exactly.
And there's the kind of ordinariness of that, and who you are as a person at the ordinary times.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very special thing. I really believe it. It's the life field is where we are. We live in the life field. Because what's happening is you've got birth coming this way and death going out that way. And
very linear, huh?
We're the ones in the middle right now. And so you start with birth, and you have this incredible, thanks to the women, just incredible being that just comes out of nowhere, just where did it come from, wow. And then you sort of think about that, and then, you know, in the meantime, on the other side, you got people leaving. They're, you know, they missed the train. They're, you know, they're gone, sorry.
And there was a point at which you actually you elected to bring in your home movies into your work, where you decided not to make so much distinction between this part of my life and this part of my life.
Yeah, well, when my mother died, you know, was the first inkling, and that was just really overwhelming. I mean, just can't even comprehend that. But then when my father passed away, it was really a little different. You know, he was great. He was really always pretty healthy, and that was really, you know, that was really helpful. And then when it was time for his person to ascend, or whatever you want to call it, that then I remember vividly, it was just my brother was on one side of the bed, and I was on the other, and we just watched him expire, and I had never seen that before, really. And it was an epiphany. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And there was a little light in the sky after he expired. And then I saw the dawn, you know, just rising. You know, I could just see it right now. It's just so profound.
So you just saw the trial here for the first time?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you've seen it in the studio.
It's premiering here.
You've seen the first installation
in the perfect space for it, which Bobby Oblonsky measured up and created perfectly.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Is it a delight for you to see a work like that when you, for the first time, you know, in that environment? It was beautiful. You know, it was beautiful. And, you know, Kira had a lot to do with it. So, you know, also, so we were just...
No, it's an emotional event. You know, just seeing
You've got to go down to these little micro kind of things when you want to make something great. You know, everybody thinks they're huge, and, you know, Cecil D. DeMille stuff, you know. But no, you have to really look where you are, think about what you're doing, being aware of what's around you, and all of that stuff has to gel to get a work of art out.
Yeah.
You know?
And the thing with your work is we're not looking at films, we're looking at spaces that are filled with light and sound.
Exactly.
That are immersive situations.
Exactly.
And therefore the architecture of those spaces is really, really important.
And the architecture is very, very particular. You know, we heard Ludger in this room earlier talking about, you know, tuning this space for these pieces back here.
Right.
And he's absolutely right. He's a sound artist, but he also is
sound artist.
Not in this show so much, but sometimes we start off a little bit lighter and then we get darker and darker and darker as we go into the space, depending on what kind of journey is being created in the exhibition.
Before you came, before we even started to try and install anything, I felt really moved walking through those spaces. The sizes of the spaces equate to the size of the screen, but also the experience that you engage with in that space.
Exactly.
And so I felt really pleased when I saw the veiling.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's in a lovely room.
The space that we have here.
The proportions are correct.
Yeah.
Proportions are huge.
The feeling that you have when you see those beautifully cut openings into the galleries and you can see through, the sight lines are extremely important. And Bobby's always pushing, but we don't have a sight line here, we don't have the sight. Those are so important because then you're drawn further in. There's a mystery at the end of that hallway.
Yeah.
But you can't get to it yet because you've got this mystery to look at and that mystery
Yeah.
to look at, before you get to that one. But it's always there and it's always leading you on.